Hello there, it's Crazy Cheap Chick, and today I am traveling from Kansas up to northwest Missouri. That's where I grew up, and we're going up to see my dad, and we're taking our trailer. You may see it behind me. And we just pulled over in St. Joe, Missouri to eat a little lunch. I made us a turkey sandwich and some barbecued potato chips. It wasn't too bad. But we are up on Wyeth Hill, and there is such an incredible view from up here that I just wanted to take a picture of it. We'll be looking down on the Missouri River. This is the Missouri River Bluffs. You can see a long ways up here. There's a barge down there. Now, I used to live in a town right on the Missouri River, and I used to see barges almost every day, and I never got tired of watching them. There's barges up and down this river because it's so much less expensive to transport something by water than it is by rail or road. It's not every day you get to see a barge go down the Missouri River, is it? Well, we made it up to my dad's house, and we got the trailer all set up. Now, my dad's house is kind of not really staying at his house. It's just on his property because he doesn't live where we're staying at. But it's pretty out today, really pretty. A little warm, but not bad. I told my dad, whenever you get done with that storage thing, grain storage bin, I want it because I'm going to make a gazebo out of it. I think he thinks I'm crazy. My dad has 2 camping spots on his farm that he set up because he leases some of his land to hunters in the fall, and they bring their travel trailers up. So we had a nice little camping spot. Really pretty view. It's a really beautiful morning. I've been sitting outside all afternoon just talking, and it just reminds me so much of my childhood because that's what we did. After all your work was done, you sat outside in the evening and just talked, and neighbors would come by, and you waved at everyone driving by and wondered where they were going. Well, there's so-and-so, wonder where they're headed. Oh, probably over to their daughter's house. She just had a baby. You know, that's the kind of conversations that you would have. And, you know, when I was growing up, we did not have computers and we didn't have cell phones. And out in the country, you got maybe 3 stations. And usually 2 of those were fuzzy, and you had to keep trying to adjust the antenna. And so we visited. We sat outside and visited. And I think it was a happier time because you connected with people, and it was a slower pace. And you just weren't exposed to all the terrible news you see on the TV, and you were more involved in your community. You had close connections. It's kind of like a forest, you know. Trees' roots all grow down and intertangle. And when one tree starts to fall, the roots of the other trees hold them up. Well, if you don't have a close-knit community, you don't have those trees next to you to support you, you fall over. And I think that that's one of the things we're missing out on now, is those close connections that used to be a part of everyday life when I was growing up. So I grew up not very far from here. I've driven down this road a million times. And it's kind of funny when you go back to familiar places you haven't been to in a long time. You really realize it's the people, not the place. You know, it's the people you miss. And like I said, that down right over there was where my grandparents lived, and I spent a lot of time there growing up. And my dad told me they're getting ready to tear down that barn. Now, back when they were alive, that was a show place. They kept it just pristine. Everything always painted, everything all trimmed up. Why do you say that?
Well, he was... I ain't gonna say he was completely crooked, but he done some things in his life that we wouldn't have lived through. He went down in Texas, you know, and worked in the oil fields. He done all kinds of things.
Well, he had a bar, didn't he? Didn't he own a bar?
Now that I don't know about.
I'm pretty sure he owned a bar at one point. I know my grandma was pretty disapproving of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Only it was green.
Yeah.
When they lived there, it didn't have that siding on it.
It's for sale, looks like.
Yeah.
No, just got new siding.
Oh. One day, he was in bed. They had him back there in that bedroom. And he said, "Ed, tell me the truth. Was it those well diggers down there that done me in?" Well, he's back in Texas, you know, in the oil field. He'd been around.
But, you know, Grandma didn't much care for him because he kind of abandoned Grandpa as a baby.
Yeah, he did.
Married,
his wife died, right?
Yeah, she died.
And he left the baby with
her mom.
Her mom.
And even after he remarried, he didn't ever...
Didn't come back get him.
Yeah, didn't ever come visit him or anything. Though apparently his grandma did. When you see a big hay bale like this, those are worth about $75 a piece. That's what they bring. But because they didn't make as much, my dad said they might get as high as 100. Well, what was his story about Bonnie and Clyde?
Well, there was no 69 wasn't built then. So they was going through the country, you know. And old Kick Hyatt north of his house there was a spring in the road and it's always mud hole. Here come this big shiny car down there and ended up right in the middle of it.
Oh, gee.
So Kick, he goes and gets his horses. That's before tractors. Before he had any tractors, he was still working horses. And he got them horses, went down and pulled that car out. And he always swore it was Bonnie and Clyde.
Well, it might have been.
You never know.
They were all over this area.
And it was unusual to see a shiny car, you know.
Would that have been back in the 30s? Or?
Yeah.
Didn't they give him some money? Wasn't that another reason he thought?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, there, I got him. I tell you, the deer are thick.
Filling station, a grocery store, and right across the road here, and I don't know where. I don't know if it was up that way, about halfway to that barn, or halfway this way. I'm thinking it was this way. But Dad and Mom would come over and see him, and I was just little, you know, 3 years old. Mom said I'd head for the candy, and he'd take a fly swatter to hit me every time I'd reach for one.
Driven over to Albany, Missouri to eat dinner at the B&B barbecue tonight because my dad wanted to get here early to beat the crowd because, well, you know, as you can see, we are the third people here.
Been a neighbor for me. He was for years, you know, just over the hill. Yeah. Thank you. Traveled all over the United States, and I've never found any place that I'd rather live than here. Now, I've seen some pretty places.
I have kind of a vivid memory of a hillside fire there by the house, and neighbors coming over with rugs or something to beat out the fire or something. Yep. I thought someone threw out a cigarette or something.
Yep. Caught my wheat field on fire. It fell. And they took me to Albany Hospital, and they got me over there and examined me all. And said, well, you have an abnormality in your back, but you'll just have to go home and take these pills to kind of heals a little. They give me a pill to go home on. And but this is the hill. We was going down this hill. I said, Dick, When did they put that railroad track in up here? What's that train doing going down there? No, he didn't want to talk about it. Then I got down here, Dick, you're going to run over those dancing bears. Can't you see them in the road? They wanted to kick me out of the car.
What kind of pill was that? I might enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who was in the band? Who was in the band with Grandpa?
Let's see, Granddad Rice and my dad, Curtis Goble, and I can't think of the others. Friday night house band. They just go to each other's houses and play music.
But it all ended when they had a car wreck?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, that's what Grandpa told me.
Probably
Or
did.
Grandma, I can't remember one. Said someone had a little too much to drink.
That'd be my granddad.
And they had a wreck, and the instruments were destroyed, and whatever he played, whatever his dad played, was destroyed in the car wreck, and they couldn't afford to replace the instrument. But did he play sax or trumpet?
Granddad played saxophone.
See, that's
Dad
what.
played the piano. Down in this hole. Now, my great-granddad, Scott Rice, had a basement restaurant, and I think it was right here.
Oh, right here in this area?
Uh-huh. We have pictures, the old pictures.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a soda shop and a restaurant. You've probably seen them.
I don't think I've seen those.
And it was right down there.
I've seen pictures of them in a store, but it looked more like a store, not a restaurant.
He had a restaurant and soda fountain.
And
He had a store at Mackins at one time.
Why is it called Cougar Pass?
Well, Kitty went up that side and the cougar went up that side, and they met up there in that open. And they both looked at each other and run.
Are there many cougars up here?
I don't know. There's one.
When I was a kid, that empty place was called Places, and that was a place to shop. There's the famous Toot Toot restaurant. I was growing up, I just was so impressed with the entrance to that park. It had those big lights on it, and it was a fancy park. So this was the city park when I was growing up, and I attended many a family reunion at this park. They would have everyone would come back once a year for big family reunions. There'd be like 100 people there. And some of this is new. Like this playground equipment. Because when I was a kid, there was a seesaw right there, which I banged my head on many a time. We had the old wooden swings and teeter-totters, and there was a gigantic merry-go-round in here somewhere that I remember getting sick on a lot as a kid. I don't know when it was built, but it was here when I was little. Looks like the creek's gone dry. That might have been here. It looks older. Now, one thing I do remember about the family reunions, because they would have the family reunions in the shelter house, and then we would go over there and play in that glen. But this was a shuffleboard. And so people would be playing shuffleboard there that came to the reunion. It looks like they've made it into kind of a permanent cornhole. I don't think I've ever seen cornhole made out of concrete. I guess no one's gonna steal that. There used to be a little pond with goldfish in it. And I don't see that anymore. It looks like it's been taken out.
Probably right here.
You think this was it?
This old sidewalk.
I think it was right there, but maybe that goldfish pond was right here. Like the bridge came through, and I can't really remember. I'll have to try to find a picture online. But you can see, like, this is why they picked this spot to make a park, because it's kind of a little hollow, pretty little hollow area. So probably back at the turn of this century, this was a place to picnic. Guess it's true, you can't go home again. Things change. The goldfish pond is gone. Here we are in the thriving metropolis of Bethany, Missouri. This is a town I was born in, but we moved away when I was little. But my dad still lives here. See, now there's hometown living at its best.
Yeah, these are being cold.
Well, I'm sure everyone knows we're driving around town. Of course, I hardly know anyone that lives here now. My dad and aunt and a few second cousins. But if I needed a kidney, this is probably where I'd go, because I'm probably distantly related to everyone in this town. Probably share a lot of DNA with almost everyone I meet. Well, you know it's fancy because it got the lions on the side of the driveway. But I still can't believe $900,000 for that house, even though it's got an inside pool. Bethany, Missouri. See, now when I was a kid, this was, you know, these were the fancy houses. Especially this one up here. I gotta go look at it. That fancy mansion. When I was a kid, that was a mansion. It's not a mansion today, but back in the 60s and 70s, it qualified. And I always remember this fountain. I was gonna grow up and live in a fancy house by the fountain. And I do have a fountain in my front yard. So I did achieve that. But I just always thought this was so cool when I was a kid. This fountain was just really neat to me. Erected 1904 in memory of Honorable J.S. Allen, founder of Bethany, Missouri, 1845. There we go, there's the fountain. I still think it's cool. I like the old-fashioned barbershop with the barbershop. There is the Harrison County, Missouri Courthouse. Looks like it's in kind of a Art Deco style. Must have been built around the 30s, I'm guessing. So Bethany, Missouri is about 3,500 people. And all of my people come from around here. But my parents moved away when I was about the first grade. I guess this is Bethany's big claim to fame, home of Babe Adams, World Series 1909. I wanted to walk down here and look at this mural. This is kind of cool. They've put this mural on the side of this building with a little outdoor place for people to meet. That's pretty neat. That's really what starts bringing the small towns back, is art, I think. When you start putting up flags, murals, and planting flowers. You know, you watch TV shows like Hometown, stringing up lights, those kind of things. That's what brings towns back to life.
I'm with him. I'm training my son-in-law. You want to help me? Slick machine, isn't it? Everybody ought to have 2 of those.
I grew up always being able to see the sunset, and I miss not being able to see the sunset every night.